Hey everyone, my name is Brandon, and here's some of the consoles I have from my collection. Now, I know this is very different from what I've done previously. I've only done gameplay videos from Beta Sarah. However, I've since want to move away from that, and now I'm a pair of disembodied hands that talks to you. Without further ado, here is my Super Pong console. It is from the first generation of home consoles, characterized by not having microprocessors running on TTL logic. With the Super Pong, you have two removable controllers, which is an improvement over the earlier model that was built into the front facing portion of the console. You have a speaker underneath this wood panel right here, and on the front you have your on-off switch, your game start switch, auto and fast for the ball, and down below here you have your select game between 4 different games. On the underside of the console, if you were to remove this bottom panel here, you can power it by several C batteries. And if we look on the back, we have our standard RF cable, which goes to a RCA jack. You have your controllers hardwired into the console, and down here is the 3.5mm jack to power the console if you have the Pong battery eliminator, which I already have plugged in. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of the gameplay. Now, I know some of you may have already seen this gameplay. Alright, so let's check out the 4 little games that are on this. To give you guys the best possible video quality here, I'm going to run this on my LCD TV. I could run this on my CRT TV that I keep right here. However, you will see a flicker during most of the gameplay, as well as this is a gray phosphorus TV, so the color is not going to be as bright as the later CRT. Everything's plugged in, and let's flip it on. And you get to see the nice purplish pink, blue, and greenish yellow colors, as well as you hear the speaker beeping here. So let's go ahead and take a look at the first game mode. So it's on game mode 1, and it appears to be a reverse Pong. So let's see here if I can score. I could quote Beavis on that and try to score, I guess. Shit. I think this is one of the easier game modes, because typically I do terrible at Pong, especially with how little of a paddle you get. That's one thing I do like about playing, like, say, Breakout on the 2600, is that I can set it to difficulty switch to B and have a larger paddle. So let's go ahead, and that's the first game mode. Let's go take a look at the second one. So the second one here, I believe this is meant to be more like handball. You position the opposite bar here across the screen, and you just basically just play against yourself and try to prevent it from scoring. I'd say this is probably good practice if you're like me and you're not very good at this game. I've never been good at Pong consoles. I went to the Computer History Museum in Mountain View, California when I was 18 with my aunt. My aunt whooped my ass. Alright, let's go ahead and move on to Game 3. Game 3 appears to be double Pong. Alright, and now on to Game Mode 4. And Game Mode 4 appears to be just regular old Pong. So let's go ahead and reset the scoring. Now this item came to me in my collection from an eBay auction. Or not auction, I actually just did an offer on it. I noticed that the seller had it for several months, and I toyed with the idea of owning one. And I came to the conclusion that, you know what, I don't have any consoles from the first generation. I think I would like to have at least one. And they say once you have one, you mean you played them all. But then I discovered the second one that I'm about to show you. So let's go ahead and move on to the second console I have. Now here's the second Pong console I have, or Video Pinball. This was the last first generation console made by Atari. Now you have your two paddle buttons here on the side, as well as a potentiometer knob here. You have your power button, your option, select, reset, and your ball serve button here. On the back you have a 3.5mm power jack, and it goes to an RCA RF cable here. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of the gameplay for this. Now this one is brand new to me. I just got this in yesterday. And this is the first game mode here, which should be Flipper Pinball. So hit reset, and then ball serve, and then the two buttons on the side control your flippers. And I just lost my first ball, so let's go ahead and hit ball serve again. I honestly thought it was going to come. It seems like when you get into that center square right there, it can change its trajectory rather quickly. And looks like I cleared a couple of the obstacles off the field here. I wonder what happens if I clear them all. Oh, cleared them all. Alright, it looks like you get a little bonus point. Alright, so let's go ahead and check out another game mode here. So I believe this one here should be Paddle Pinball. So let's reset. Yep, Paddle Pinball. So you see I got the paddle down here. And let's hit ball serve. Let's see how we do with this. This is a rather unique take on pinball in my opinion. Rather slow right now, but I'm willing to bet that if I hit it just right, it's going to go real fast. Yeah, just like that. So, alright, so let's go ahead and move on to the next. And this one appears to be another map variation of Flipper Pinball. So let's test it. And it appears so. Okay, so this one's a little bit interesting. I thought these down here would be one solid color, but it appears that they have two separate color palettes. So let's move on to the next. Oops, not a game. Select. And this one right here, I guess when you had the solid bar down here, that tells you that it's a paddle game. And this appears to be the Paddle Pinball for the second map. So I think this next one should be Rebound. So let's see what Rebound's all about. Alright, reset, and this is the paddle game. I don't know how you're... Okay, I think you build up momentum. Yeah, that's what it appears like. Okay. I failed miserably at that. So let's move to the next. I think this next game mode should be just standard breakthrough. So reset, ball serve. Oops. Now let's move on. I think this should be the last game mode up here, and this should be just regular breakout. And this would have released the same year as the Atari 2600, but I think Super Breakout or Breakout did not come out until 1978 or 1980. I do not remember off the top of my head. I'd have to verify that. And it looks like my game just glitched out, so I guess I'll just end it right there on this. So let me know down in the comments what you guys think about these first generation consoles. Would you actually buy one of these? Would you have one in your own collection? I would recommend them. I thought the Video Pinball looked rather unique. I actually thought it was going to be smaller from the pictures I saw of it. So it kind of shocked me with how big it is. The Sear Super Pong console, though, I think those are probably some of the most common ones. You can probably pick those up for about $20, $20 to $30. I'd say it's worth it to try one that's untested. What some people do is I've seen that they'll use like an RF connector for like a Nintendo to plug them into a TV. In my experience, those little RF connectors through Nintendo or Sega Genesis, I've never really had good quality or good luck with them. Some stuff like my Atari consoles actually like will appear jarbled on the screen and won't even work. But if you use if you use a actual RF connector, say, let me go in my box of things here. So, you know, you look at the back of your TV, you got this. If you use one of these and you just plug straight in, it'll work the best. And that's just my opinion and what I've seen over the years of what I use in all the consoles and computers I use that do RF only. That's how I do everything nowadays. But let me know down in the comments below, what do you think? And what do you think of my new video format? So this is my first time doing something like this. I kind of wanted to do something like this from the beginning, but I was kind of nervous, kind of scared. I'm not used to talking. I feel like when I talk too much. But you guys have a good day.